and then I'll find them in the wash later in the week. I had a bulk order come in, and I swear to you, I had probably 100 of them. It's about a little under halfway now. I'm happy I have a lot of chapstick because I lose too many of them.
Brown, man. Chilling with Demo vibes out here, man. We have a good time. We smoking cigars. We doing it big out here, man. Y'all keep watching this show. Let's go.
You already know. My homie Peter Brown right here, boy.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Come Debo. Who? Debo.
Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, pimps and players, and everybody between, it's your boy, the one and only Debo Vibes right here. And thank you so much for coming by another episode of the Debo Vibe Sports Dive. Ooh, ouch. Last week, y'all, I know, last week didn't do us good. The Seahawks came in town and they roughed us up. They roughed our fellows up a little bit. But the good news is this, y'all. We are still 3-1 in the NFC. So this week, we're going to have a rematch with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This time, we're heading down south to Raymond James Stadium. We're going to be in their hood. Last time they came up here was a classic between us. That's a game where Kirk Cousins slaying that rock for 509 yards and 4 touchdowns. So in this week's episode of the Sports Dive, we're going to focus our attention on the Tampa Bay offense versus the Atlanta Falcons defense. And the reason being is both of these units are going through some trials and tribulations, some challenges, some difficulties, particularly the Tampa Bay offense with the loss of their 2-star wide receivers, and the defense. Will we ever sack a quarterback ever again? Will we ever be able to stop the run again? Will we? I'll get into it. I'll get into it. All right. So let's go ahead and dive in this week's matchup, the rematch between our Dirty Birds, the Atlanta Falcons, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Y'all ready? I'm ready. Y'all ready? Let's go. So in reference to a Tampa Bay offense, as y'all know, Monday night was a serious one for that offensive unit, and to be honest with you, for the entire team. Now, they already had Mike Evans questionable in this game with a hamstring issue. He worked through it though. He decided to play, and he scored a touchdown in that game. However, while reaching out to try to grab another touchdown in the second quarter, he pulled his hamstring again, and by his reaction, you knew it was serious. He was in a lot of pain. He was out for the rest of the game. Later on in the fourth quarter, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took an even bigger loss. They lost their other star wide receiver, Chris Godwin. This injury, unfortunately, was worse. It was a dislocated ankle. Chris Godwin is out for the year. So you got your 2-star receivers out. And just to put into perspective what we can appreciate, Godwin and Evans being out, that's like us having to start Kadero Hodge, Ray McLeod, and Casey Washington for a game, or Chris Blair for a game if we brought him up from the practice squad. So that's what they're going through right now. Now, in reference to the rematch, when the Buccaneers were here at the Benz, Baker Mayfield had a pedestrian day. He only had 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. However, that result was not indicative of his performance. He was essentially playing on a condensed field because of the field position, because the Buccaneers' average starting position was inside our territory. And as you know, Baker Mayfield, he's a very shifty and very impromptu quarterback. So he was only pressured a handful of times, and the times he was pressured, he got out of it. He ran the ball for 6 times for 42 yards.
Debo.
So we got to talk about the replacement wide receivers, right? So this week, we're expecting to see Jalen McMillan, Trey Palmer, and Sterling Shepard as being the starting 3 wide receivers for Baker Mayfield. Now, Mayfield's very familiar with Sterling Shepard and Trey Palmer. Now, he got familiar with Jalen McMillan on Monday night because he targeted him 8 times, and McMillan secured about 3 of those catches for 15 yards. The skill sets for these receivers are, of course, nowhere near Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. However, I believe offensive coordinator Liam Cohen will dial up specified plays for this trio of wide receivers.
Debo.
The running game for the Buccaneers will be the focal point for the offense, in my opinion, come Sunday. So we know what's going on with the loss of those wide receivers. In the first matchup with the Buccaneers, we dealt with 2 running backs with Rashard White and, of course, with Bucky Irvin, who, of course, had that critical fumble. Now we're actually dealing with a trio of running backs. We got Rashard White, Irvin, and now another running back has emerged by the name of Sean Tucker. If you don't know who Sean Tucker is, we might get a very big dose of him come Sunday. Sean Tucker is a second-year man sparingly used who balled out about 2 weeks ago down in New Orleans, where he had 197 total scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns out of nowhere. So now we got to deal with this. The 3 running backs they have right now could be on the field at the same time. I've been researching and seeing through various outlets what the Buccaneers are doing down there, and that's one probability. To get Rashard White out to the slot and to have Irvin and Tucker lined up side by side next to Baker Mayfield. It's going to be a creative scheme that the defense has to be aware of. Now, when I say a defense has to be aware of it, I'm talking about instead of the traditional 3-4 package that we have, Jimmy Lake will have to get more creative and more aggressive, try to contain those A and B gaps and neutralize the Tampa Bay running efforts. And like I touched on, I think the best way to do that will be with that 4-3 look. A little more Ruka-Roro. A little more Grady Jarrett to seal that A gap. Same thing with David Onyemata, and same thing with Zach Harrison. I think those 4 right there do have the ability to seal those gaps and contain that line of scrimmage.
Debo.
In closing, the Liam Cohen effect has to be discussed. As we can recall, the first matchup we had with him in the Benz, Liam Cohen was down up absolute gems, particularly in the first quarter. Liam Cohen knows that he's dealing with new personnel on the field due to the losses of the wide receivers. So on the defensive side, we got to prepare and be ready for way more creativity from Liam Cohen. Will they run the ball more than they pass the ball? I believe they will. With or without those injuries of the wide receivers, the Buccaneers were already running the ball great. They rank 8th right now in rushing in the entire NFL. Now going back to Baker Mayfield and the press conference this week for the Buccaneers, one of the media members stated that there's a fine line between playing aggressive and playing reckless. And he basically essentially asked Baker Mayfield, are you able to contain that? And Mayfield's reply to that was, you got to let it rip. You can't be timid. We got to take advantage of his recklessness. He was reckless last time we played him. More than likely, because of the scenario of him losing his top 2 receivers, he'll be very reckless in this game right here. And of course, I feel like a broken record. I know a lot of y'all feel like a broken record. During the pass rush, we're almost getting there. We're not getting home. We're not getting any kind of sacks. So the front 7 has to find some way to get some of this pressure off of our defensive backs. With all that said, the Atlanta Falcons defense will have to devise a way to confuse and delay the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive progress, but we all know that's not going to work because Jimmy Lake is our defensive coordinator. Let's go! Offensively, last week, we saw poetry in motion, and that poetry was Bijan Robinson. It's been such a treat to see all of us see Bijan Robinson grow as running back with his blocking, now with his patience. And last week, we had the luxury to see Bijan Robinson with his patience and explosiveness for big plays. He ran for 103 yards.
Debo.
Going back to our previous matchup with the Buccaneers defense, in round 1, Logan Hall had his way with Caleb McGarry. Logan Hall all but dominated Caleb McGarry in that first matchup. He gave 2 sacks to Logan Hall. Let's keep an eye on McGray in that leg. It still may be an issue, as last week he was laboring against the Seattle Seahawks as well. As far as the run defense is concerned for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, last week the Baltimore Ravens ran for 244 yards against them. That should be everything that you need to know right there. Zach Robinson got away a little bit from the run last week against the Seahawks. We got to get more towards that run scheme as we did against the Carolina Panthers, particularly against this defense right here. Y'all, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has the PFF worst rated linebacker, inside linebacker in the entire NFL, KJ Britt. And while watching the replay of last week's game between the Ravens and the Buccaneers, KJ Britt, well actually not just KJ Britt, a lot of front 7 was having a difficult time with the run fits and trying to get to where the ball was going. And that's why the Ravens were so successful. If Zach Robinson can get back, like I said, to what we did against the Panthers, that'll be the recipe for success for the front end.
Debo.
As far as the back end is concerned, you got Anton Winfield Jr., who did not play in the first matchup, and as well as Zion McCollum. Those are the 2 main individuals in the secondary because they did lose Tyke Smith last week. Tyke Smith had 12 tackles in the first matchup against us. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers leaned on him for leverage, so they're going to lose out on that this game. Zion McCollum, who did great against us in the first matchup, he did not have a great game last week. He made Rashard Bateman look like Justin Jefferson. He got beat twice in 2 verticals. And lastly, Todd Bowles runs an unbelievably soft zone, which is predictable. Other than the fact that he's a great blitzer, he knows how to blitz. The back end is extremely soft, and offenses have been exposed it for most part of the year. With that soft zone defense, predictable soft zone defense, I believe that we will finally see a balance of a strong run game and a strong passing game with both Kirk Cousins and Bijan Robinson sprinkling a little Tyler Algier of having a perfect game to beat this defense. Let's go!
We have a return. He kicked it 100 miles. Long spiral to the 21-yard line to Dion to the 30. Dion out to the 35. Dancing 40, 45, 50, 45, 40, 35. Dion 20, 15, 10, 5. Dion Sanders.
Falcons at Buccaneers, Raymond James Stadium this upcoming Sunday. It will be for first place, y'all. First place. Now, we all remember how great it felt to be in first place, right? I know I felt good. I know you felt good. You know it felt good. We all felt good. I want to go back to saying top of the division to everybody. Top of the division to everybody. Hey, man, big time shout out to Chris Tipmore. I got that from him right there. A1 Forever Sports. Check him out. Chris Tipmore. Let's get back on top of this division right here. Lastly, y'all, this is the most important thing. When they were head to Benz and we beat them, they had way more than what they're going to have down there in their own stadium. From my research, they essentially lost 65% of their passing game with the loss of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Now let's go down to Raymond James Stadium and rise up and get that division lead once more again. Once more again, y'all. Y'all want that? I want that. Falcon, you want that? We all want that. Hey, y'all, man. Thank y'all so much for coming by another episode of Devo Vibe Sports Dive, and we will vibe out soon. All right? All right. Hey, y'all, guess what? I see greatness in you like you see greatness in me. Man, I love y'all, man. From top of my head to the soles of my feet, it's your boy. The one on Debo Vibes right here, man. As always, y'all, respect, love, peace, and rise up. Yeah.
Debo.
Who else wants some of Debo?